Boom! Boom, boom, ladies and gentlemen, there we go. I'm back in the studio. I just have to do one last share here so we can spread the magic to the people out there. And I apologize if the music is a little bit loud, just let me know. Zazie Tonruhing can lean back and do nothing at all. We are set, we are ready to go, it is fine. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna share the link here on my official Facebook page. And while I do that, I can just tell you guys that you are actually listening to the Surrounded by Details podcast with me, Stevo. I am your host today, and this whole lunacy is brought to you by Nanox Nutrition. Unchain your limits if you want to get the best out of you. Please do me a favor, get on gateway.com, order your nutrition, get the best inside of you. But when you place your order, please make sure to use the voucher code SBDGW10 in order to get 10% off your order at gateway.com. Link will be in the description later on. And here you can see the cliche is quite true. Men cannot do two things at the same time. I had to focus so much on the introduction that I completely forgot to share the link. And I'm just gonna do that real quick. Give me a second here, and I leave you to the background lounge reggae that I decided to put on. Boom. And then copy, paste, continue and post, publish. And now I'm ready. Now I'm here for you, ladies and gentlemen. It has been a hectic week. I need to lean back a little bit actually, because as our regular listeners have seen on YouTube or wherever you listen, let it be iTunes, Podbean, or SoundCloud or Stitcher, whatever you come up with, I have been away from the podcast a little bit, and I'm excited to tell you guys what has happened, because a lot of stuff has been going on. I went to Manila on Monday, and it was a 3 hours flight. There's only 1 hour time zone difference, and I was looking forward to go back to Manila because it kind of marked the 1 year anniversary with One. Last year, January, I started to work with One Championship, and my first event job was in Manila, in the Philippines. And let me tell you a funny story, because I recapped with Dukes a little bit about that. And I remembered when I actually started, I got this appointment to follow Brandon Vera, who's the heavyweight world champion of the One Championship promotion. And he was about to give a seminar, and yeah, I was supposed to go along and take some pictures, and there was another photographer. And when I work, I'm in my zone, and I just acted like a real dick now looking back at it. And it turned out that photographer was Dukes. So Dukes is from the Philippines, he's one of my colleagues. So I renamed, this is what I did during 3 hours of flight time, I renamed Manila to Dukezilla. And I love Dukezilla. I love to be back. Time for another event, but this time I decided to go a little bit earlier because I wanted to do a little street project, as I do in Vietnam or Myanmar. I always try to go a little bit earlier, and this time I kind of left my stuff at the hotel where we were staying, and then I decided to go local. I need to breathe in because there's gonna be so many things to talk about today. I experienced a lot, so I decided to go local. Sorry, I need to slow down a little bit. And for that, I checked in the Manila Boutique Hostel, which is in Makati, and I can only recommend this place. It's a really nice vibe. There's loads of art form around, and the people who work there are freaking awesome, polite, friendly, helpful. And I'm sure there's many, many more words. What I'm trying to say, go there, sleep there, stay there, and have some cool conversations. Because I had one about basically everything. We talked about Marvel, we talked about, weird food. And talking about weird food, I discovered ice cream with bread. It's like a hamburger, but with ice cream. And without all the nonsense, just ice cream and bread. And I love ice cream, so hello, tried that out, was pretty delicious. And to come back to the point, it's a good place to stay where you can have awesome discussions or conversations, or just lean back and chill and watch TV. And they also have breakfast included, by the way. The only thing that sucks a little bit is the Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi only worked in the lobby. But on the other hand, it brought everybody together, so I think there was something good to it as well. This is where I stayed, and from there, which is kind of the I'm not really sure. It might be the business district, tourist district, but if you cross the river, which is not far from there, only couple of hundred meters away, you get directly into the local area, the local hood. And I heard a few rumors about Manila that I have to watch my stuff. And even when I went shopping for some grocery for the hostel, a man tapped me on the shoulder and said, you should not carry your bag like this, try to have it in front of you, because it can go quick in Manila. So yeah, my head was working, but then I figured, hey, either I do it 100% or I don't do it at all, because if I have my camera in my bag and I have to take it out all the time, it doesn't really help, it ruins the moment. And if it's really that bad with crime, it just gives the people more time to spot me and come at me. So I decided, just go in there, and then you either have to run fast or scream loud. Yeah, so I went in there with my camera bag, my camera in my hand, and I got what can I say? I got shocked in a very, very positive way. They proved me wrong, because I just completely fell in love with Manila. The people, so friendly, laughing, asking for photos. I had people from the middle of the traffic screaming to me, hey, take a photo, take a photo. And those photos will be online on my website in a little bit. I still have to edit them, but I'm getting there. So maybe this evening or tomorrow you will be able to find the link on my social media. And yeah, just have a look and you can see what I'm talking about here, because I have so many photos of people smiling, looking at me. I went into small alleys and there were kids playing and everybody was together, all the different ages. Of course you could spot the few teenagers, you know, the ones with the cigarette in the hand and the little crew. You watch out for them. That's why I call the podcast Surrounded by Details, because you have to pay attention to the details around you. And once you do that and go in there with an open heart and an open mind, this is exactly what you will receive in return. And I had a moment, I have to be honest. I went out every morning and I had a moment where I really realized how lucky we are. And yeah, the people don't have much, but they are so happy. It is impressive, and I bet many people who can imagine what it takes to be happy know to appreciate that. And the footage I got, as always, as I already said in Myanmar last year in October, I know to appreciate these moments even if I don't show it, but I tried to give something back. There were many occasions where there were many groups building around me when I went very local, and yeah, I started to do some breaking for them, and we played basketball, and my bag was lying on the side the whole time. And I don't know, man, call me crazy, but I believe in energy. Maybe that will backfire one day, but I think if you have a certain amount of energy going on, you just know everything is gonna be okay. And it feels good, those few minutes or seconds, that the safety thought in my head disappears, where I completely can enjoy the situation. So yeah, going local is highly recommended. And I tried some street food, and my stomach so far didn't show any sort of problem, and I think I got used to the whole street food now here, being here for a couple of years and around Asia. You kind of adapt, and I really enjoyed it. And what I really loved again is the ice cream with the bread. But one day I was a real dick. I decided to go to Subway and I bought a big sandwich. I felt so bad because I had all the local food around me. But sometimes you have these moments. Yeah, coming back to the point, I walked around and enjoyed Makati and the neighborhood of Makati. Really fun. And I met a bunch of construction workers, which first looked at me quite skeptical, but that became actually one of my favorite photos because they really loved the camera. They were standing in the middle of the mud and digging to build whatever they were building, and they were just having fun and a great time. I think they even rapped some Filipino song there at some point, but I'm not sure. I gave them my fruits because I always buy a bunch of fruits when I walk, so I decided to give them something because they were working in the middle of the sun, and I can imagine that it is hot, and especially in Manila it is a little bit more humid than here in Bangkok. In Bangkok it's more dry, but in Manila you were really sweating as soon as you went out the door, and that was one of the reasons why I only went out in the mornings between 8 and 1. I think normally I came home at home to the hostel at around 1 p.m. in the afternoon. What more is there to mention about my street project in Makati? I tried to break in like a ninja into a construction building with, I would guess, around 30 to 40 floors. It wasn't really done, but I kind of wanted to have a skyscraper skyline shot, as always, I don't know what to say. I always get into trouble when I do stuff like this, but this time I was lucky, again, in Manila, because they were just pointing me out, and then before I left, they whispered to me, maybe you should try again later tonight, and let's take a selfie before we throw you out. So again, I was met by friendliness, not much trouble, but it bothered me a little bit, because that is the only shot that is missing in my story, at least what I could get within those 3 days. After those 3 days, it was time for a heavy moment again, because you go from very, very local into the city of dreams, which is one of the most expensive places you can stay at, and One Championship did treat their fighters and employees, and on that behalf, thank you so much. I'm not complaining, but it gives you the perspective to look back at things and realize how much contrast the world has sometimes. And I know there are places where it's way, way more noticeable, because you have the locals exactly in front of the fancy hotel. Here you have a little distance because the place is close to the airport and in an area where you have the stadium, and yeah, you have to go a little bit. And crazy place, what can I say? They have a casino down below, and they have some sort of entertainment park. They cooperate with Disney, and the bed is just, it's so soft. When I was lying down in the bed, which I always do when I arrive at the hotel, I check in, I leave my bag, I take a quick photo, and then I just sink into the bed for 5 to 10 minutes, because it was a long journey. But this one was special. It felt really like clouds where you just sink in, and I could really enjoy to pass out in there, which I did. And then I almost missed out to go in the pool, but luckily I had an alarm clock set just for safety. Better safe than sorry, ladies and gentlemen. And I went down to the pool also because I saw the most shiniest head in head history. I'm talking, of course, about Olivier Coste, the referee from One Championship, Full Metal Dojo, and Mima. He recently had his birthday and he arrived early as well. So he and Ian, the Canadian referee, and the ring girls were chilling down at the pool. I decided to join, and as always, good to catch up with people. And that brings me straight into One Championship, Kings of Destiny. Eduard Foluyang versus Yves Ting was the main event for the lightweight belt, defending at home for the very first time. Eduard had a bunch of pressure on him, I can imagine. It was certainly no easy situation for him, but he mastered it well, because by now, you know, he defended his title in a 5-round war. I would call it war. Yves Ting was, of course, somebody to not underestimate, and it was an amazing fight. I'm gonna come to that in a little bit, because I want to start at the very beginning here with One Championship. Going to Manila. Manila is one of these new hotspots where MMA is really booming and growing, and the stadium was sold out. So being in the stadium with I think Victor said 25,000 people in the stadium, you could expect some noise. So I was looking forward to that, but yeah, I didn't even have to wait that long, because I was in the car behind the champion when he arrived at the arena. And there were photographers everywhere, a little ocean of photographers, and I only got a shot from over the top of the car that he was arriving in, and captured all that moment of this ocean of photographers, and Eduard trying to make his way through. And there was even one dude, when I walked in, he just screamed, "Steve!" And I turned around and I looked, and he screamed, "Steve," again. And I just went to him and I shook his hand and I said, "I have no idea who you are, but I hope you have a good time." And he just said, "Yeah, I know you from your podcast, from your social media." So that was a nice moment. That shows me that we're doing something that people enjoy listen to. So I hope you enjoy this episode so far as well, even if it was a little hectic start there. I was excited. You know when you want to get out everything at once and then your mouth just gets faster than your brain. But now we can lean back a little bit, and I have my little notebook here because I made some notes. And for the people who don't know, I'm a newbie to MMA, so when I will talk about MMA, don't take it too serious. Try to see it from my perspective to, relax, see what I have to say, and then you can either disagree or agree, and whatever you do, you can put it in the comment section, by the way, because we are live, we have a little live chat going on, so in case you have anything to say or you have any questions, feel free to put it in there, and once we try to get you interactive, guys, just subscribe, do me the favor, go my YouTube channel again, subscribe, or if you just want to make it easy, go on www.stevebonhage.com, Steve without a E, and you will find all my social media links there, so you can subscribe wherever you want, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, which I don't really use, SoundCloud, Stitcher, iTunes, whatever you prefer. And all our audio episodes are available for free download on Podbean and iTunes, by the way. So where are my notes? Here we go. Oh, by the way, did I mention I had a meeting with Rich Franklin before the event? I really enjoyed that, cool dude, but he always makes you feel unhealthy. And even if I quit smoking in 2017, I still feel freaking unhealthy next to Rich Franklin. It was fun, because he's one of those persons, that is a character, you know, has been a world champion and you have a certain amount of respect. So when we had a little chat there, we were sitting in the lobby next to the casino of the hotel, and I was freezing my ass off because of the aircon, and I tried not to show it. I bet I look pretty stupid there at certain moments. However, cool dude and fun. We're gonna have him on the podcast in the very near future. Most likely, we just gonna call him up because it's not easy to get hold of Rich Franklin. So we're gonna call him up. He offered to be a guest on the show, and of course, I wanted to ask him. So we are looking forward to have Rich Franklin on the podcast. How to Be a Loser, his book and TED Talk. Make sure to check that out on YouTube or buy the book. Really, really interesting. Full Stadium I already mentioned, so let's dive straight into it. The first note that I made here is Nicolini versus Mazepa, a Russian wushu fighter versus a Brazilian jiu-jitsu legend here. And this was Michelle's second fight. She won the first one, and in the second one, I think the strategy was pretty clear. She will try to take Mazepa down as soon as possible and then work on a submission. And this is exactly what happened. Michelle threw a kick and a punch, and then basically it went downhill for her opponent, because on the ground Michelle is hard to beat. And I was wondering a little bit, because her opponent seemed a little bit too calm almost. I would have expected a little bit more pressure on the stand-up game, especially knowing that Michelle has a jiu-jitsu background and is still working on her stand-up, which is not judgeable yet, because we haven't seen much of it. So it would be interesting to see an opponent that tries to keep Michelle standing up. But once again, it is the Ben Askren of the female division, I would almost say. Because Ben Askren also is most known for taking people to the floor. Not to the dance floor, I'm talking about the cage floor. So that is my opinion about that fight. Michelle won her second her second fight, so we will see what's up next for her. And I already mentioned it, Ben Askren of the female division. And the next fight that I see here on my list, I have mixed emotions about that fight. Miao looks thoughtful. Is she thinking, what fight could I mean? I know for a fact that you were following on Facebook all the live feed that you can receive on the Facebook page of One Championship. Is there any fight that you have specially in mind, except for the main fight? Actually, Miao just said, for the people who didn't hear it, she didn't know how to live stream, so she just saw the posts. And it's actually quite easy to live stream. Boom, boom, advertising, onefc.com, and you will find all the live stream options there. You need to be able to pay $9.99. It's the credit card, exactly. I hate that on the internet. I don't know. Of course, I can understand that people use it, but sometimes it's very irritating. I use PayPal a lot, and PayPal does not always connect to your normal PayPal account. It sometimes is required to connect to your bank account card. And maybe only few people know this, but I've been traveling for a bunch of years and I don't have any bank cards. So I'm depending on my PayPal. Maybe something to improve in the near future. So far, so good. However, second fight that I was really looking forward to was Ayman Derma, who was fighting against Team Lakai's Kingard. His name is, I think his first name is David or Daniel, I don't really remember. Again, I suck at names. But yeah, something I recognize and why I have mixed emotions about this fight is because in the first round, Kingard did pull Ayman Derma's hair, which didn't really get seen by the referees or judges. This shows you how tricky it can be sometimes to be a referee and to be in a situation where you can miss out on certain stuff that can play a big role. So I think that was not really fair play, but on the other hand, you don't really know what goes through the head of the fighter or the mind of the fighter, because of course they have an adrenaline rush. So sometimes you do stuff that you don't really recognize, and I bet he is not a unfair sportsman, because I haven't really come across any unfair people in mixed martial arts so far. So far, everybody has been a good sport. The fight went on, it went the distance, and sorry for Ayman, but he had to take the loss here. Team Lakai got his first victory, or 1 out of 5. They didn't lose any fights that night. Again, Team Lakai on a run. But I was a little bit disappointed. I would have liked to see Ayman push a little bit more. But of course, that's always easy to say when you are not fighting and don't really have a clue about fighting. However, I have to come up with a new award because Andrew Leone was there as the cornerman, and this is the first time I actually met him in person from Bali MMA. We had him on the podcast before, but for the first time I met him in person, and I think he earns a new trophy for loudest cornerman in the universe. So far, Don Carlo Klaus, also from Bali MMA, is pretty loud in the corner, but Andrew, Jesus, that man must have some training in screaming, because I was very surprised that voice kept up. And talking about the Leone brothers, his brother Anthony was fighting in Russia for the championship belt. Unfortunately lost. Ayman lost. It was a hard weekend for Bali MMA. I'm really looking forward to talk to the guys very soon and catch up with them, because so far we only see Bali MMA succeed, if you want to say so. Of course, it's always hard work, but it's always interesting to see how the feeling is in a gym when you come off a couple of losses. And what is the mood like? Are people demotivated? You have an injury there with Keanu Suba. I have no idea what's up with Gianni Suba, what's up next for him. I would like to give Bali MMA a call and see what they are up to. Gonna try to set that one up for the next week or the week after that, because it's gonna be hard this week to put more podcast episodes in there. We have tremendous guests lined up. Sorry for building in a little Donald Trump. Check and done. We have a international bestseller coming on Tuesday. We have a American entrepreneur coming on Thursday, and we are talking to a breakdance legend from Finland, B-Boy Focus from Flomo Crew, on Sunday. So there's a heavy schedule ahead. However, back to the fights. We have to build Bali MMA, and we need to catch up with the guys. See what is going on. Chan versus Xi. I don't know how to say that. Chinese fighter. All I have to say, I remember him from last time, and he's a badass. He is a badass. He has been winning, and even if he didn't win, he only fought a complete war. I have to try to get Vaughn onto this, because I would like to talk to him what's going on in China, because there's a lot of talents coming out of China, and I think he is one of them. Happy to see him fight again, and also taking the victory this time. Then I have Lee versus One, and what else do I have here? Banario versus Jantin. yeah, now we come to a point again where I get goosebumps only thinking about it, because Christian Lee was fighting. He was supposed to fight Keanu Suba, then had to change opponent last minute because Keanu Suba got injured. I believe the same injury as last time he was supposed to fight Christian Lee. One more reason to call Bali MMA. And while they were walking in, I got tapped on the shoulder by Simon Notcher, one of the film guys from One Championship, and he pulled me closer to him and he whispered in my ear. I was afraid it was a little romantic moment going on, but he whispered in my ear, Pacquiao is coming. And when I say the name Pacquiao, who else can you think about than Manny Pacquiao, one of the legends, one of the best boxers of all time. I'm not really into boxing, but I know him and I know a few of his fights, also against Mayweather, and of course he has his political standpoint, but here it's all about sports, and I was just, wow, I was so excited. It didn't really matter if I did have the opportunity to take a portrait with him or just to document that he was there, but yeah, we started to run around and we tried to find him. We run from entry to entry, couldn't really find him, and then we got a call, he's already inside, and then we ran back inside, and then we were there, and there he was, cage side, and out of the sudden, you know, something just happens. There is something going on here. There is a certain field of energy when you stand next to a man who has accomplished what this man has accomplished. And the amount of patience that he brought along, of just being there, because you're so known and everybody knows you, and Pacquiao, he is a legend and he is super famous in the Philippines. And everybody wanted to have a photo, everybody wanted to talk to him, and he was so calm, he had his smile on, and he was taking photos left and right, and it was amazing to see how much he values the people around him, and to basically make him to what he is. Because if there's no interest, even if you're a good fighter, you will never, become. I'm drifting off. Yeah, so we basically started a tour. Victor Chui spontaneously gave us a tour. I say us here because I was lucky enough to be part of the tribe, because I had the camera, Dukes had to stay cage side, and David Ash as well, so I was the lucky one. Thank you so much for that opportunity, by the way. I'm sorry to be a dick here, but that was a big moment, and I really enjoyed it. Yeah, I tried to make the best out of it. As I recently read in an article, it is not always about the task. When people ask me, how can you work 16 hours a day, must become boring at some point. Of course it becomes boring at some point, but it is important to stay open-minded, and this is one of those situations where you would like to do so many other things, shoot portraits and take proper pictures, and then you have to go with just documenting, and there's a bunch of people around, there's different lights, and you don't really have the angle you want, but you have to be open-minded, you have to try to make the best out of it, and I think I did. The images will be able to be seen very soon on One Championship's Facebook page, Instagram, Twitter, and on my Facebook page as well, and website. Which brings me to that it's slowly time to open up our Best of One Championship 2017 gallery, because we have been doing a bunch of One Championship things. We have been doing the presser in Bangkok and the event in Bangkok. We followed Vitaly Big Dash in Phuket for a little bit with his training. Now we were in Manila. I think it is time to slowly unleash the baby, because it's still a baby gallery. We have to wait until the end of the year until we can give you the best of the best, 100%. But a little teaser will be able to be found on my website very soon. And we walked with Pacquiao. He met a bunch of fighters, and one of them, of course, the reigning and now defending champion Eduard Foliang. And once again, Eduard just, I don't know, he just smiles back, so calm. There's a legend walking into the room while you are warming up, and Eduard just shook his hand, gave an interview. We also had the pleasure of meeting, and for me taking a photo of the vice president of the Philippines. Thank you for Simon for always whispering that into my ear, because I don't know the people when I see them. So this is this person, this is this person. So that was a lot of fun, and even though it was hectic and I missed 2 fights, it was definitely worth it. And in the end, there were a couple of moments where, despite the fact that there were many photographers around, and again, I might sound crazy, but I believe in energy, and I think that energy can be exchanged by just the way you act around each other. And I think there was this moment at the end where Pacquiao and also Victor Chu, and Victor always does, appreciate the people who of course film and try to do their work when people not really want to, and all this kind of stuff. And yeah, he looked in the camera a few times, and there was these moments where just boom, thank you for looking at my camera again. I can't describe these moments, they are amazing. And as Olivier Coste also posted, thank you to One Championship for not only throwing an awesome event with great fights, but also giving the staff to enjoy these moments in the middle of the hectic, in the middle of the storm. And that is one of the reasons why I like to work with One Championship, ladies and gentlemen, because it's a great team. It is a great team. Which now, bada boom, bada bang, brings me back to Team Lakai. No, not yet. Because then the whole Pacquiao thing was over, and I have to come to Christian Lee's fight. The only thing I have to say about Christian Lee's fight, of what I could see, is I was a little bit like getting back on the bike after you fell. Was a little bit nervous there in the beginning, but yeah, then he won the fight. I have no idea how. I still have to rewatch the fights because I missed out on that one, but he won, and I can imagine that was a very, very big relief, because Christian is a fighter who is in the spotlight at a real young age already, and with that comes, of course, people who want to take that spotlight, who want to show that we are better than this person up there. And I know for a fact that there's a few people around right now who would like to challenge certain fighters, and I can only imagine what it would be like to get a few of them on the podcast. So that maybe I try that as well. Maybe I try to get a few people on the podcast, and because I've seen some trash talk on social media here, and I would like to bring that up on the podcast. I have a small smile here because a little bit of trash talk once in a while is not wrong. It would be nice to hear what people have to say when they're actually face to face or mic to mic, and they have a couple of minutes to talk to each other. I feel like the Jerry Springer of Asian MMA. Ha! However, let's move on to the co-main event, and we're talking about the silencer, ladies and gentlemen. Back to Team Lakai, Bellington versus the Suomi from Finland, Tauro. And I remember Tauro was actually the first main event I ever shot for One Championship against Bibiano Fernandes, and I was looking forward to that fight because the silencer likes to silence people, and so he did again with Tauro. It went pretty quick, and even though Tauro had a reach advantage, Kevin was just too much master of the situation. Excuse me, I have to turn down the speaker a little bit. And took the victory in the first round, and not much to say. The only thing that I'm really curious about right now is what's gonna be next for Kevin. Because we had this epic matchup between Bibiano and Reece McLaren, and I was one of the first ones to scream loudly rematch, but now seeing Kevin coming back there in the game with a couple of victories, it would be interesting if, and I'm just putting it out there, ladies and gentlemen, once again, you have the live stream, let me know what you think, but I'm just putting it out there, Reece McLaren versus Kevin Belingon. The winner gets a rematch with Bibiano. And that rematch we take all the way to Brazil, because Bibiano is Brazilian. And I would love to go to Brazil. No, I'm just joking about Brazil, but I'm not joking about actually doing the match. Kevin Belingon versus Reece McLaren, I think that is a fair match that many, many people would like to see, including myself, and the winner goes for the title. I think that is more than fair enough. And Bibiano can lean back and just look at what's gonna happen. And I wonder if there's one of them that Bibiano would prefer? I guess not, because you know fighters, they're always like, I don't really care. If I want to be the best, I have to beat everybody. So that is everything that I can say. I think this is something that should be taken seriously. That little thought of my newbie MMA brain. And my newbie MMA brain brings me to Eduard Foliang versus Yves Ting, the main event of One Championship Kings of Dynasty in the Mall of Asia in the Philippines. And yeah, away with my book here. What can I say? Let me close it. Boom. What can I say? Main event, nothing less than a war was expected. We know that Eduard is very explosive, especially with his spinning back fists and yeah, kicks and everything. And it turned out to be exactly Eduard's game. Loads of kicks were thrown at the beginning of the fight, and I think Yves Ting started off a little bit slow, and I think this is, again, my newbie opinion, I think this is what cost him the victory in the end, because I think he started a little bit too late. There were phases in the fight where Eduard had the upper hand, then Yves Ting had the upper hand. I think both got caught here and there. Eduard had a big bleeding or a cut on his right eyebrow going on. Yves was breathing heavily at some point, I think. It was an epic match, but very, very entertaining. And again, what else could have been a better outcome for yeah, not only the audience, but also Eduard Foliang to win on home floor, because last time he fought, he actually lost in Manila. So I'm sure it was a pretty sweet moment for him to actually come back and come back with the W, defending his title for the very first time. I would love to speak to Yves Ting. I'm putting it out there. I know he has told us that he would love to come on after the fight, despite the result. But of course, I also want to show respect and not try to, yeah, be a pain in the ass too early and ask him on the podcast. So I'm gonna wait a few days, and then hopefully we will have the chance to talk to the challenger and see where he might already have realized where he thinks he lost a little bit, or what his whole thought is on the fight. A lot of M's today, I apologize. And with that, Eduard defended his title and it became a party. Pacquiao, what a moment again that must have been for Eduard. Pacquiao put the belt around his waist, and unlikely, not like the UFC, who doesn't give out proper belts to Mighty Mouse, as we heard on the MMA Hour from Ariel Havani. One Championship actually gives out belts for every title defense, and it was a nice group picture, a nice new tradition to take Team Lakai backstage and take another group photo for the second time with 2 belts this time. And I can see the development here of the photo story. The first group shot of Team Lakai was very, very happy. Everybody was smiling. This time Eduard had a smile on, but it must have hurt a little bit to smile in that moment. But I'm very thankful again, because all that happened in between interviews, backstage, and all this kind of stuff that is going on backstage after an event. Once again, thank you to Team Lagai for taking the time again to take a group picture. It was epic. It was a great event, and I'm looking forward to actually rewatch the fights, because as always, ladies and gentlemen, I always mention that when I get asked, I actually don't really have an opinion about the fights, a proper opinion, until I actually see them. Because when you are there, when you take photos, you look through the lens all the time, and when you have a good photo, a good moment, the shutter is closed and you will actually not see it. So that's why we have to rewatch the fights often as photographers, at least, to build a proper opinion. But no matter what, I have the excuse, I'm a newbie, so I apologize if I said anything wrong. But on the other hand, sometimes you have to take it. Or if you don't agree, you see the bridge here? See what I'm doing? You can come on YouTube, leave a comment, subscribe, do whatever you want to do, write me an email, whatever you want to do. Be interactive, because we do this in order to entertain you and to bring a little bit of news to you with interesting people. And interesting people will be coming next week. Again, I already mentioned it. We have John Burdett, a international bestseller, Bangkok 8. one of his most famous books. I know Zazitorn has read it. She's in love with it, and she's already sitting here with a pen and book in her hand, trying to catch a autograph when we have John. But unfortunately, he's only available over phone because he's in France at the moment. So no autograph for Meow this time. And I think I can see a little tear running down. But hopefully we will make it up in the near future, because I know for a fact that John is often in Bangkok. So we, of course, gonna try to get him into the studio. And our first studio guest this time will be a American entrepreneur from Phoenix. A guy who loves coffee and beer. Also, he loves Japan. And he is a good friend of Brian Bartusch from Bibiano. So, I think... Should I mention his name, or should I build up a more epic... No, guys, I'm gonna be honest, I forgot the name. Yeah, let me check that. Let me see, because I don't want to be an unfair player. I want to mention all the names, and I want to mention them right. So let me check real quick. I'm really, really sorry. I have so many people to deal with at the moment. I know that sounds, oh, yeah, you're so busy. I sound like a dick now, I know, but my apologies. And I'm talking then, of course, about Derek. Derek, whose last name I can't really pronounce, so let's just say Derek. Yusva, or Weisva, I don't know. We have to ask him when he comes to the studio on Thursday. And then on Sunday we have B-Boy Focus from Flomo Crew on. A B-Boy, the second one after B-Boy Nagin. That was also an interesting chat. If you haven't seen that one, check that out. This guy has been touring with Madonna. He has been dancing all over the world. World champion. Great person. And I'm running out of words. And sometimes you need to know when to stop, and I think I've reached that moment now where I need to say goodbye to you, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed this little recap, and if you didn't, once again, let me know, because I want to improve. However, it was nice to look back at all this, and yeah, to have nice music and to recap everything, and to really appreciate these moments. So I'm looking forward to the next one. It's gonna be a little while off now for maybe a few weeks. We have one championship in Singapore coming up. I'm not 100% sure if I'm going or not. We have the World Lethweight Championship coming up in June 10th in Yangon. So we have loads of time to podcast. So I'm looking forward to interesting guests. I'm looking forward to see or hear you again on the podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel or on our social media. You can find everything on www.stevebonhage.com. Steve, as always, without a E. Subscribe wherever you can, and have a wonderful rest of your Sunday evening. Zazitorn Roing Schindler, can I ask you to please turn around and close off the live stream, because it is time to go, and that's it for today, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you had